Hello and welcome to Dungeons and Dragons: A Darkened Wish, Episode 7, Port of Shadows. But before we begin, I would like to say something first. A very dear friend of mine, a friend of the show, a friend of all of ours, my co-creator of A Darkened Wish, without whom none of this would have happened, Tess Fowler, is going through some significant personal issues. She's spoken about it on her Twitter. I don't need to go into details, but she is having a difficult time. So I would say please send whatever thoughts, prayers, good energy, whatever you believe in, send her direction. But even more than that, send work. She is a fantastic artist. As you can see, her art is featured right here in the art of these fantastic characters that she helped bring to life, that is now being played by these beautiful human beings. So I can say without exaggeration, none of this would have happened without her. So if you are in the market for getting custom sketches of your characters, of characters that you enjoy, she's a specialist at critical role art. Obviously, she knows these characters very well. Please hit up Tess Fowler. And in the meantime, we are with you, homie. We will all get through this, okay? Now, in the meantime, let's meet our heroes. Since we are here now in Talking Head land, I will introduce them because it is, I don't know what order you're seeing them right now. So first we have Sam DeLeve playing the sweet but only slightly stabby boy, Aiden.
Everything's fine, especially me.
We have Aki playing the twins, Karrin and Kerrin.
Hey, everyone.
And we have Miss Mayleigh Damage playing Helene, Wizard Extraordinaire. So as independent content creators, now more than ever, we rely on your generosity, both in the form of bits and tips and in the form of the support of our sponsors. First is Q Times. Thank you for having us here. Thank you, Q Times. Couldn't do it without you. D&D Beyond. See, look at this. I'm wearing the logo. Product placement. D&D Beyond is the official digital tool set of Dungeons and Dragons. It has nearly everything you need to be able to play the game. Digital versions of the books, the character classes. You can keep track of your spells. You can play in your encounters. Now that more and more of us are playing remotely and digitally, D&D Beyond is more useful than ever. So please visit dndbeyond.com to find out more. You can also get the Wildmount book there, since it might not be possible to get a hard copy for a little bit. You can get it digitally right now, D&D Beyond. Dogmite Games, the makers of my beautiful DM screen, which I would show you, but it would look like I was playing in a fort right now, and it'd be all cut off with my beautiful etched dragon on the outside. They make a ton of kick-ass gaming products for all your needs. They have over 30 custom screens. You can get it exactly how you want it. Check out dogmite.com to find out more. Level Up Dice. Find Pinky Up, makers of peripherals and dice and things to take your gaming literally to the next level. So I visit bit.ly/LUD B Dave Walters. Pretty sure you think by now would know that. It's been many weeks. I'm pretty sure it's LUDBDaveWalters.com to find out more. And last but certainly not least, Games for Love. Games for Love is a kindness-oriented 501c3 charity committed to easing the suffering of children and improving their quality of care. One thing that we were just talking about this week that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the kids that currently, even though statistically speaking, might be a little more resistant to the coronavirus, a lot of kids that are already in the hospital are actually more susceptible and are having to go into a lot of stricter lockdowns. So a lot of them are really having a hard time kind of dealing with having to, be separated from everybody else. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to raise money for games, gaming systems, and just things to do. And of course, to increase their actual quality of care. Apparently, 911 is on the way because someone forgot to close the window before we went live. Maybe that person is me, but I digress. So that being said, on with our story. When last we met, sacrifices were made. Here on the shore of a sunless river flowing through the depths of Undermountain, two of your friends chose to sacrifice themselves. Xander and Rayonde gave themselves over to a seemingly overwhelming force of Illithids, mind flayers, in exchange for sparing the lives of their friends, Helene, Karrin, Kerrin, and Aiden. Now you all have been making your way through the darkness. You were able to stop and rest for a time, and you found again the forces that were assembled against you that looked like strange pale dwarves, ghostly white gnomes, jet black drow, all of which that just had blank mindless eyes, just dispersed after the Illithids retreated. And you all saw them for some time. Some of them began walking different directions down the cave. Some of them climbed up walls. They just scattered. And you haven't seen any for some time since. And now, as you've made your way along the shore of the river, off in the distance, you see the light of fires. There's a settlement of some sort up ahead.
Oh, does anybody see that? What is that?
Some kind of people. Who knows who?
I think we should get a closer look, but maybe be sneaky about it.
Yeah, I can scout up ahead. Are you three going to be okay? All right, sit tight. I'll take a look. You three be safe. Yeah, I'll move on up ahead.
Give me your stealth check. But as you see Aiden begin scampering along, everything is silent down here, except the odd lapping of this alien river against pale black stones. I believe it was Karrin who suffered particularly in the battle before.
Kerrin has just sort of been holding on to Karrin, like an arm around their shoulder, just kind of keeping them close. And Karrin hasn't really spoken since they separated from the boys, and has mostly just stayed very quiet. While Kerrin is just sort of, anytime they've been asked a question, they've just spoken for both of them. So I think that as Aiden moves away, Kerrin just sort of leads Karrin to some, if there's like an outcropping of rock or something, someplace to sit down really fast. I think Kerrin just kind of leads Karrin over there to sit down for a moment. Because Karrin's feeling better now, but like is kind of feeling the weight of just what happened pretty deeply. So as they sit down, Kerrin is kind of just holding on to Karrin. You haven't said anything since we left. Are you okay? We're gonna go back, you know. We're gonna get them back. It's gonna be okay. Is it? Is it really gonna be okay? And Kerrin kind of just looks at Helene, kind of asking for a little bit of help with their eyes.
Hey, look, they've disappeared before. We've always gotten them back. These things happen. It's not ideal, but I mean, they can't get rid of me that easily. We'll find them.
Kerrin, you know that although Helene is pursuing this very bravely, you healed her wounds. You know just how close you were to losing both Helene and your sibling.
Well, you're putting on a really brave face, Helene, but I mean, you lost someone who's important to you too. Aren't you scared?
Yeah, but they're still alive. Just like I'm still alive. You're still alive. We were close, but we didn't fail. As long as there's hope, we'll be fine.
Kerrin kind of just reaches out a hand to Helene.
Helene takes it.
Kerrin squeezes it tightly, and I think Karrin just sort of starts crying very softly into Kerrin's shoulder. Kerrin's trying really hard to be strong, but their sibling is crying, and so they're having a hard time with that.
Look, it's going to be okay. The whole thing is, it's getting rough, but we've been lucky thus far, and I don't think our luck is going to run out anytime soon. I think we're going to find them. And she leans in and gives you guys both a hug.
They hug her back, and then Kerrin is like, we probably shouldn't stay here too long. We should probably follow behind Aiden at least a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever you're ready, though, take your time. I'll watch out in the meantime.
Okay.
Aiden, as you slide up ahead, you give me your perception check. And what was that stealth, by the way?
22.
All right. It's you barely even crunch on the rocks.
That's a 28 on the perception.
That's Skullport. You've heard the stories. You knew it's supposed to be somewhere far underground on the banks of a river. You knew the name of the river as Sargoth. But of course, down here in the darkness, even you didn't really have a chance to put it together. With that high of a result, you also see you're still some ways off. I mean, probably a mile or more. It is a fairly bustling city. It is definitely much smaller than Waterdeep above, but in many ways, it is almost a dark reflection of it. In the sense that even as you pass through Waterdeep briefly, it was sort of like, oh, there's a big sort of domed building. You can kind of make out there's a big domed building, like there was the building with 4 points on the top. Oh, there's a building with 4 points on the top. The city is arranged in 3 tiers, mostly built in the base of and kind of up into just a dark cave, basically. There are ropes in between, catwalks. Several of the things look almost haphazardly stacked up on them, but you see every once in a while one of the strangest things you've seen, and that's saying something given the life you've led. You see large disembodied skulls. They're glowing with green supernatural flames. And every once in a while, one just sort of floats by.
I guess the citizens of this town have been losing their heads. I'll make my way back to the other 3.
As you turn back, you do find Helene and Karrin and Kerrin are sort of quietly making their way your direction. They definitely know how this works, but they are kind of creeping along.
Yeah, I don't begrudge him being a bit impatient. That is Skullport up ahead. Don't be alarmed. The name was more on the nose than we might have thought.
I'm guessing you saw the floating skulls? We
Wait,
saw
did
them.
you know there were floating skulls?
We saw them when we did our scry. I think we told you about them.
I mean, okay, but I didn't think they would be like for real boners.
We appreciate the attempt. Thank you.
What attempt? I'm not doing anything. Let's make our way in.
Okay.
Helene, give me an Arcana check. Actually, Karrin and Kerrin, you can as well. I would say roll with advantage. That'll cover that for Karrin and Kerrin, because this is something that theoretically you all would be familiar with.
28.
Natural 20 from me for 25.
Ooh, natural 20 for certain.
Actually, it's a 27. Sorry.
Yes, Helene, you've definitely heard about this, but with a natural 20, of course, at least one of the twins has a very keen insight into this. The Skulls of Skullport are allegedly the peacekeeping force here, which is saying something because kind of the entire point of Skullport is that it is a terrible place for lawless people. So if they are the ones that enforce the law, that pretty much tells you quite a lot about them. The legends say that they are descended from the original people that built this place in times long past. You also know there are 13 of them, Karrin and Kerrin, although there's been rumors about someone actually trying to create a 14th, but who can say?
So Kerrin is the one who ends up relaying all of this to everyone. Karrin is kind of standing just off of their shoulder, listening as well. And when Kerrin finishes, they simply say, I mean, we'd have to do something really bad to get their attention. So I think that as long as we, I don't know, fly casual, we should be fine.
I will tell you with a natural 20, one other thing that you might know is they can be fairly erratic in the punishments they give out. Sometimes it's a slap on the wrist for murder. Other times they've been known to obliterate people for the Skullport equivalent of jaywalking. It is not at all clear what the code they adhere to is.
It's very, very chaotic in there. So everybody just watch each other's back, stay sharp.
I got you.
Just keep our eyes open, I guess. We should be fine.
But I guess I do have a question. I mean, we're obviously going in there to get Molt, but do we have any plan other than that?
We need to see who is out there, who's in this town. Maybe there'll be some sellswords who'd be willing to help. Maybe something. Maybe someone who wants some revenge like we do. We'll just have to play it by ear.
Okay. Kerrin kind of looks at Karrin and kind of looks very furtively at Aiden.
Do y'all want to move ahead?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Karrin, can I get you up here with me? I need some extra eyes.
Okay. And Karrin will move up next to Aiden and move alongside him.
We're quiet for now. I just keep Karrin close and try to help them feel protected and watched over. We don't have to talk right now, so we don't. We just move. But Aiden keeps them close.
All of you can give me history checks to see what you might have heard about Skullport. Again, by now, you all have been sellswords in your own right for many years. Is that another 20?
12.
21.
21.
I know every place there's ever been.
You know, Aiden just collects drinking stories. Like, I'm so grateful to the chance cubes.
You didn't know this about your character, that he knows everything about everywhere. But he do.
You
The dice
know,
have told me so.
that is my sailor boy.
Should have had more faith.
Aiden, again, in a miraculous insight into the the people and places of Faerun, you realize that Skullport is a bad place, even amongst the criminal element. You know that it is basically run by different gangs, like the Low Fellows and the Mandible have a big presence here, but the one who runs the place is something known as the Xanathar. He is, by all accounts, a beholder. You found that hard to believe, but allegedly he runs Skullport, and from Skullport runs all of the crime in Waterdeep. You know, there's again with a natural 20, I'm like convincing lore dump. The city is mostly human, followed by half orcs. There's a significant population of goblins and kobolds. A few drow live here. A few dwarves, mostly the dwergar, those bizarre deep dwarves that you saw before, and just a smattering of other kinds. So it is fairly inclusive in that sense amongst the races of the realms that are basically terrible. This place specializes in slavery, cadavers, body parts, smuggling. A lot of mercenaries and sellswords do operate out of here, especially those who have gained a reputation perhaps for cruelty or belligerence or disorderly conduct that has made it difficult to work for the more legal and above board companies. A lot of times those people end up washed up here working for the highest bidder.
If we can secure Molt, then maybe the highest bidder can be us. Okay?
I just need to make a quick amendment. I actually rolled an 18 and not a 21. Not that it matters right now, but just saying.
Then things that Aiden recounts to you will seem by comparison even more marvelous and impressive. And even in this dark time, you will be amazed by his intelligence and the depth of his lore, of his excellence and his valor. By like 3 more points.
Yes, of course. I think Kerrin sort of looks to Helene and then to Aiden, and you wouldn't happen to know best practices for going about that kind of thing, would you? I mean, obviously, I could try to scry again to figure out exactly where Molt is, because the last time we saw her, she was in a bar, but that was a little while ago. We have no way of knowing if she's still there or if she's moved on to a different part of the city.
I think it's worth a shot. Why not? I'll sit here with you and keep an eye out, because you have to sit there for a minute, right?
Yeah, but I can't do it without Karrin. Karrin, you want to try? Yeah, the sooner we can get in there and get out, the better. So Karrin goes and sits down next to Kerrin, and they're gonna do a scry to see if they can find Molt.
All right. While they're doing this, what are Aiden and Helene doing?
Helene?
As of right now, Helene's just taking in the sights and looking back and forth between the twins and what they're doing and making sure they're okay, and looking at the city. She looks a little bit more frazzled, but the look on her face, she's trying to keep it together and stay hopeful. But essentially the beads of sweat on her upper lip give her away that she's not exactly 100% okay.
I need a wisdom saving throw for 16, please.
You see Molt flying up towards one of the upper levels of Skullport and just sort of lands, and walks into one of the establishments there. Doesn't look like a bar this time. It's probably a house. It's kind of hovelly up the higher up you get. This, in many ways, Skullport is sort of an inversion of a lot of cities where usually the wealthy live up high. Not here. They just continue stacking things. It gets increasingly more garbage as you go up.
Looks like we have a bit of climbing to do. She's flown up to the highest level of the city, so
There are ropes and everything. I don't know how much they're going to secure things. Somehow, I don't think they have a lot of building inspectors around here.
No, and I can get us up there, guys. We don't really need to climb anything. We just need to figure out where's you said the upper city?
it seems that she went into some kind of house. It's all pretty crummy up there. Everything's built sort of ramshackle.
Yeah, as you all get a little closer, you can all essentially start to see what I'd described to Aiden. That again, it is sort of inset into a giant cave. I mean, it's a city of thousands. It's by no means a small place, but it is stacked up on 3 levels.
From the description I got from Kerrin and Karrin, I can pinpoint sort of which upper level, knowing as I do everything about this town.
Yeah, is there, basically like we see her roughly here. It's this color. I see to the left and right that, and you're kind of like, there-ish. Yeah.
All right. You three ready to fly our way up, I guess?
Is
Yeah.
that what we're doing?
I mean, we can. Do you? Can you think of a better way?
I mean, no offense, but none of you are quite as athletic and gifted in the climbing arts. I wouldn't want any of you to fall from there.
Thinking back to that natural 20 for the ways of Skullport and another natural 20 to the skulls themselves, you all think trying to fly in from the outside is a very good way to get shot down.
We probably have to go from the inside and then go up.
All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
I do have one idea, though. The bar where she was before, we could possibly get some more information and meet people that may be able to help us.
Yeah.
If we have her in hand, we might have a fair bit of leverage. I can always get word out. I have ways and means.
Yeah, Karrin and Kerrin, you're fairly certain you could find the bar that you saw Molten originally.
So we get Molt first, and then go to the bar? Or the other way around?
I just want to be moving. I want to be doing. I'm not the one who's supposed to be planning this stuff.
I second that.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Molt first?
Yeah. Let's just let's get Molt. We're here. Yeah.
If we have Molt, then we have a bird in hand. That means that we can use that to leverage for some of the cell sorts. Right now, we don't have any gold to get any help with.
Okay, let's go then.
As you all make your way down along the shore, I was about to say beach. That's the wrong word. It's a shore. You all do start to pick up the ambient sounds and smells of Skullport. And all of you give me perception checks.
19.
16?
18.
At about the same moment, Helene and Aiden, you see up ahead two goblins and a kobold fishing. Two of them have fishing poles. One of them is just every once in a while slinging out the net and reeling it back in and pulling out these scrawny, pale crabs and sort of dumping them in a bucket. Doing it again. And the other two were just fishing on the shore of the bank.
Want to move around them a little easy? Okay. You good for that, Karrin?
Yeah. Wherever you go, we'll follow.
All right. Stay tight to me, move soft. Try to stealth our way around them.
So if Aiden is helping you, Karrin, Kerrin, and Helene, you all can roll with advantage. Because he's basically like, step there, don't step there.
We're
So,
rolling.
Yes. Stealth. Mhm.
17.
Okay.
It's an 18 for me, and thank goodness, because if it weren't for an advantage, I'd have rolled a natural 1. Ooh.
That's what friends are for. 22 from me.
This is not the first time you've done this, and thankfully, Aiden, they've been paying attention. You all do sort of like hug the wall and are like, and these uniquely inattentive goblin and kobold seem to they don't notice you at all as they're just sort of fishing. But as you guys are making your way past, you hear, I don't know, buddy. It just seems too good to be true. Yeah, bud, what else are we gonna do? Makes sense to me. I'm saying, I don't know. That guy's not the first or the last to promise fame and fortune and riches if all we do is take up swords for their cause. Yeah, but if I get to stab some people, it's a good day. As you guys are scooting past.
Helene just shouts, "Hey, we got a cause."
All three of them whip around and just stare right at you. What? Where'd you come from? Who are you people?
Wouldn't you like to know? We're very sneaky and very stealthy, and I can do this. And she makes a fireball appear in her hand and then puts it away real fast and goes, but we need help. A couple of things, actually. But that's if you're interested, if you're brave enough.
Give me either persuasion or deception, whichever is higher, Helene. In the strictest technical sense, she is not necessarily given away. No, she gave away all your positions. I'm like, you're not invisible. You were just being sneaky. Yeah.
18.
They're like, my mother told me that you can always trust someone with big curly hair. Go on, I'm listening.
Your mother was a very wise woman. So me
She was.
and my 3 friends here, and beautiful, no doubt, too. I can tell by looking at you. Me and my 3 friends here are looking for 3 particular individuals, 2 of whom we're friends with, 1 of whom we're not. Aiden, you want to take it from here?
But we're 3 individuals.
That's the perfect number then, isn't it? Because we are looking for 3 people. So 3 of you.
Well, we're not people as such, but okay, all right, but no, we're still listening. Go on.
You know, you're those kind of beings. It's regardless. The numbers are perfect. We want to know. You know those mind players, the quiet, speak in your mind. I'm a creeper. Yeah, nope, they're not here. They're not here right now. They're not here right now. If they're here right now, we'd be like, oh no, they're here right now.
The kobold doesn't say anything, but it does pull out 2 short swords. They're actually very large knives, but in their kobold hands, they're short swords. He's like,
Yeah, see, I like that reaction. Did you see them come by earlier? You were sitting here fishing, yeah.
the one that has not really said too much before now is like,
Seems like we're at a bit of an impasse here. Your beautiful friend is looking for information, and information has a cost.
Yeah, no information has a cost, too. I'm gonna flip my dagger.
Well, you are quite dexterous. But no, no one has seen any mind flayers around here. Well, I mean, there's the ones that live here, of course. I don't go too close to them. They get a little tentacly. Can you just?
Where do they live at?
Oh, I mean, they are duly appointed citizens of Skullport. You know, it takes all. There's not many of them, of course. We have their own street. It's called Mind Flayer Way, is what they call it, and they're usually over there. I just excuse me, you sexy thing, you may not want to go near them with all that hair. They might look at it like a challenge. They might look at it like an hors d'oeuvre. Like I was it's like a soupçon of fur, along with some brains. Did you know that they eat brains?
Ooh.
What about the ones who don't live in town? Do you know how to get to them?
Well, I mean, you guys saw mind flayers near here?
That's information.
That could be life and frickin' death, buddy. What'd they look like?
It should. It is life and frickin' death, and it's important, which is why we need to know these things. Clarify, exchange. So you tell me the direction that they go, and I'll tell you where I last saw them, and then you will be aware. And I will be aware, and we will all be aware, and those mind flayers won't come for any of us. How does that sound to you?
He pulls out a knife and puts it down and starts like carving a little something like into the into the ground in front of you. It's like and it is an incredibly rough map of Skullport. And he's like,
okay, so like down here,
and it's kind of over towards the lower left side of the map. He's like,
so this is like slave markets. This is
accent sliding around, sorry.
Over here, this is like the slave market. This is here on the water. You gotta be careful going through there. You know, you just likely to be a product as a purchaser. You know what I mean? Then you kind of got the lower port area, the lower trade lanes, and lower hard. And then like over there, it's a lithid way. They want us to call it a lithid way. We all call it Mind Flayer Way. They're kind of up there in the sort of northeast part. Up there, the lower skull part. I really cannot impress upon you enough. Maybe don't go that way.
Yeah, they make bad neighbors.
Sorry, I heard both of you at once. I apologize. What was that?
Go ahead, Sam.
They make bad neighbors.
What's a Sam? No, I mean, again, they just like wait a second. You said you've seen mind flayers. How do you not know what they do?
Oh, I know what they do. I just want to know whether the ones in the city, are like the ones that we were seeing outside of town, or if they're well behaved while they stick around.
The other one holds his hand up and saying, wait. We gave some information. Now you give some information. What they look like?
I'll describe them. I'll
So-
describe, in particular, I want to describe one with the staff.
You might recall, again, one had a particularly purplish pallor to him and had particularly long tentacles. Most mind flayers, the tentacles are not really much longer than the fingers on a hand, really. This one, they stretched all the way, like almost down to its waist. And the other one was clearly undead. And when you say that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah.
He's like, oh, one of those.
All right, now it's your turn. What do you mean by one of those?
I am. So here's the thing, and they all look very nervous. And they're like, oh, okay. Maybe you should report this, that you saw it. Maybe tell it to the Flaming Skulls. The problem is the Flaming Skulls can be a little flamey. And I would hate to see any of you four lovely people get vaporized.
So you're not exactly encouraging me on the Flaming Skull route, so why don't you tell me what I need to know?
I mean, what else? I'm no illithid expert. Yeah, we just don't go over to that part of town. It's just a good way to get your skull cracked open.
Never seen any of those two before?
Well, I heard stories.
I love a good story.
Well, part of the reason why we reacted as we did, you see, is we've been told that people that go ranging a little too far that direction, don't come back.
Gotcha. I understand. I look to Kerrin and Karrin.
Think-
See if
We
they have any
stay
questions.
within 300 feet of Skullport, where we're safe.
Oh, I understand that logic.
Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Helene, looked like you were about to say something.
I was, and then I forgot.
Well, if it comes back, jump right in. Yeah, it's like,
Do the illithid in the town get along with the illithid outside of the boundaries of this area? Or do they avoid each other in general?
the three of them all look at each other and then just sort of look at you. All of you give me insight checks.
It's a 27 for me.
23.
Aiden successfully rolled a disbelieve.
You know what? I know things about the place. I
Yeah.
don't need to know things about how the people.
You know, Aiden, I appreciate that you're a member of a crew. You let your shipmates all have their moments.
They need to shine too. They need to feel valuable and helpful, and for that reason, I failed this roll and for no other.
Helene and Karrin, you're sure there's something they're not saying. 100% they know something.
I think that Karrin sort of approaches the three of them very, very slowly. And their hands are kind of open at their sides, just to show that they don't mean to be threatening or anything like that. It's really important that you answer the question. You say that people who go that way never come back. But the friends that we're looking for, they've been captured, and we want them back. And if we can find help, then we need to know where to go. And if you can help us, well, that's worth a lot.
Helene, you were about to say something?
But she was gonna put friend on herself.
You can do that. However, the way the friend spell works is they will be your best friend for 1 round, and then afterwards they will be aware of what you did and be angry about it. So you could do that, but I just want to give you that particular heads up. That one's buried in the fine print of the friend's cantrip.
Rough cantrip. It's like people can't just use people
Then
anymore.
she just stands behind the twins and nods.
They look at you, Karrin, and they look at you, Helene, and they're like, they got your friends? They're
Yeah, they did some pretty nasty mind tricks back there on us, and they took 2 of our very best friends. So now we have to go get them back, and we need a little bit of help for that.
the kobold just sort of looks at you and like nods, like, and then just like slaps one of the goblins, like, you know, the sort of like backhand. I mean, he doesn't like pimp hand, you know, but like he just points. And he's like, okay, we can take you to see the exile. Maybe they can help.
And what's the exile?
I think you're just kind of gonna have to see.
But seeing means that I'm in very close distance to it. I would like to know a little bit about it before I have to get that close to it. Hints? Any helpful hints?
That's completely valid. Okay, so I'm not an expert. I told you I steer clear of those things because I like my brain in my head. But here's what I hear. Because I hear things. You guys don't know this, but it's like I'm like a hawk. Like nothing happens and I don't notice it. Nothing. And so, the mind flayers, you know how, like you said, they talked in your head?
Mm-hmm.
Like they can all talk in each other's head. Like they all are connected somehow. And every once in a while, through reasons no one knows, somebody breaks that connection or gets kicked out. Yeah, the exile's one of those. Or so they say.
Lead on, McGob.
Now, I am a fine, upstanding citizen of Skullport, but I'm also a business goblin, and you are asking me to subject myself and my compatriots to extreme risk. What's in it for us?
Well, don't you know who she is? And I point at Helene.
I mean, besides hot.
You haven't been topside in a while, have you?
No, but
'Cause
I'd
if
like
you
to be
had-
bottom side, okay?
Oh, come on. Don't make the poor guy feel bad. I mean, you know, like it's
Yeah, but someone of your
she's obviously been
station,
living
they
under
should
a
put
rock.
some respect on your name. They
She's-
should know that
can't all
they
be-
should be trying to court your favor. Like, they should know what it would mean if they did something nice for the curled lady.
They sort of look at each other for a second and they go,
Oh, yeah. Wait. You're the curled lady?
Have you seen it?
I mean, that is particularly curly hair.
What more
Yeah.
proof do you need that it is she? I mean, you've heard of the curled lady, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Well-
who hasn't heard of the curled lady?
Then you might know that with someone of her station, a favor's more valuable than anything you could negotiate right now.
One of them takes a step towards you, Helene, and he's like,
So, in exchange for an introduction to the exile, we will be owed a solid by the curled lady.
That, good sir, is correct. We can shake on it if you'd like.
he holds his goblin hand out. He's
Like, deal. I just,
he leans in, he's like,
I knew you were the curly lady like the moment I laid eyes on you, but I thought maybe you were like in hiding or something. I didn't want to just like bust you out and be like,
Oh, no,
I'm
I
the
could
curly lady.
tell. I saw the look in your eye. I could
Yeah.
tell.
No, I
mean,
knew.
Game recognizes game, right?
Yeah, right. No, yeah. I just want you to know that I knew, but I knew that you knew I knew.
That's the most important thing.
Right. Okay.
they reel in the nets and the fishing poles and everything. They're like,
Okay. Stay close to us.
and they start walking towards Skullport.
Kerrin takes Karrin's hand and like kind of pulls them close and just kind of gives them a smile, and Karrin smiles at Kerrin, and then they follow behind the goblins and the kobold.
And the kobold. As you all are walking over, and you sort of can see up along that again, the city looks like it is like grown along the shore as much has been built. Again, there's things that like clearly have been here a long time and were very well thought out, but there's all gangplanks, piers, rows of things that have just almost been sort of like haphazardly constructed. For those of you who have been around the world, which again, mysteriously, Aiden always has an insight into such things, you can definitely tell different types of construction too. Like you can see like some things like are docks of like a orcish make. There's like small rowboats that are still, sleek elven craft, just all sorts of things. And as you all approach up the docks, you hear halt. And one of those green flaming skulls just comes floating down from overhead, down in front of you. State your business in Skullport.
Visiting. Bit of business ourselves.
These are our new spouses, imported. These are our betrothed. Yes, we are going to be having a large wedding of a variety of peoples to us to celebrate life. Yes. Isn't
That's
that
right, sweetie. Yes.
Yes. Yes. I love you, and I love all of you, and I love you as well. Yes.
I can't wait to be married.
The skull, having rolled a 1 on its insight check, just looks at you and is like, I remember the time before when I was corporeal. I too had a spouse and a number of children. Congratulations. And it literally just floats away. And you all see ahead along the docks a strange pale dwarf just sort of goes.
Who's that? Helene will turn around and look at them and say that to them.
And they're like,
Oh, I just, some dude fishing, I don't know. Maybe you can introduce yourself. They're weird. They don't like our kind. That's what you're going to find down here. A lot of us kind of stick to our own kind. Like, because if not for the skulls and sort of like mutual self-interest, we probably would have eaten each other by now.
Yeah, well, it wasn't our first choice to have to come up in here and do all of this, but we've got to get our friends back. We're trying to stick to our kind by getting them back. So, in a way, we're making that happen.
The dwarf you see, he does look like those pale dwarves that you saw on the shore before. But the difference is, of course, there's lively awareness in his eyes instead of just blank nothingness. He's actually got, even though his skin is very pale to the point that even his beard is sort of like it's not gray from age, but it is very much just like washed out whitish. And even his clothes are old and sort of like a dullish gray, but he's got odd, very piercing green eyes. They're almost just like emerald, which strikes a sharp contrast against his pale skin. And besides clapping, he is just completely straight-faced, standing there on the dock.
Lean over to the twins. You two get a read off of him?
Can we try?
You can all give, what are you after? Perception or insight? He hasn't really done anything as such, but I'll give insight. Let's see if any of your spider sense just seems to be tingling in any one way or another.
I mean, I got a 21, so
That's good, spiders.
does he just
I
seem to be
also-
kind of like,
Was that 21 for you as well, Helene? Is that what it was? Okay. Sorry, you were saying something there?
I was just saying, does he just seem to be like, he overheard us, and so he's just like doing kind of a bit of,
If you had to wager a guess, he's like, these are our new spouses, but he hasn't stopped looking at you since then. You can see with 21 in your perception, you can see that Helene, you notice, even though his hands look, gnarled, like, he's been working with his hands, along his belt, you see spell component pouches. I mean, his setup's different than yours, but like, you know what that is. You're like, there's no other reason. You've got like 14, little spell like this big, type thing, kind of all along his belt.
She'll look down at his belt and kind of point and be like, nice setup.
He looks down and he's like, that's a good thing. Because you lot are terrible liars. I cannot believe that it accepted that fable from ye. Although it would be a blessing upon these scaly bastards if you were to be becoming their new betrothed. And he's sort of like a deep rumbling laugh.
All of that is very accurate. And he'll smile and walk back towards the others. Hey guys, he seems nice. I don't know. You want to come say hi to him? What's your name, friend?
He's like, it doesn't really quite translate. You can just call me Rock.
Well, nice to meet you, Rock. I'm Helene. This is Aiden, Karrin, Kerrin, and our new friends that we've picked up along the way to help us get through here. They seem fun and interesting. You seem like you've got your wits about you, though, and might know a little bit more about this place. Any helpful tips you can give us, since you seem to be quite opinionated about our last performance a couple seconds ago?
He looks the three of you up and down, and you might recall you're absolutely beat to hell because you've been fighting for hours before your encounter on the shore. So there's bloodstains, rips, the splatter from all manner of creatures that you all slew on your way down into the Underdark. And he looks at it, he looks you up and down, and he goes, white sails, eh? You had some sort of falling out that brought you down this deep.
Falling down, as much of a falling out, I guess.
He steps right over to Karrin, gets like right in their bubble. And he's like, what's your damage then, elf? You look down on me for being Dwarf.
I have no reason to look down on you.
Other than me height, right? And he does like slap you on the arm, like, ah.
No, we're just passing through. We don't mean anyone any harm.
He just sort of he's like, well, I'll just tell you, especially if you got this lot of your guides. And they're like,
Hey! We are very connected and influential.
he's like, keep your coin purse tight. Don't let each other out of your sight, or you're just as likely to end up in a slave cage, eh?
Thanks for the tip.
He's like, still looks, and he's like, something strange about you lot. I just can't quite put my finger on it. Guess we'll find out. What is your business here in Skullport?
Looking for a few different folk. Aiden's gonna describe the illithid, the two illithid first.
The two that you saw outside?
Yeah.
None of you by chance speak Undercommon, correct?
The elves do, yes.
He's clearly cursing. Vile, horrific cursing. The rest of you, even those of you that don't speak it, it's clear.
I know a good quality curse when I hear it.
I think that Karrin curses in return in Undercommon, feeling very much vindicated in the feelings that they're currently experiencing.
He looks you up and he's like, oh, didn't make you for one that a traveler of the deep lands. Aye, aye.
We're a little bit more like scholars with intense curiosity for languages, but yes, we speak yours.
Those, and again, he gives you about a 6-string expletive-laden rant. Where he's like, brain suckers. Took me whole family. Don't get me wrong, I hated my family. I would have been happy if they was dead, but they should have been dead because I killed them, not because they got taken off and enslaved, the brains sucked out of both.
That is an interesting sentiment and way to take that, and I appreciate it. New way to look at things. But yeah, we've not had a very good run-in with them either.
You seen those two? Where?
Are you
Barely
not?
half a day ago,
Yeah.
over yonder that way.
And you haven't seen them up and around here since then, recently?
No.
All right, so we have no leads. Crap. All right. Well, if you'd like to help us fight them when we do find them, you are welcome.
Anywhere, anytime. And when he says that, you see literal flames ignite in his eyes. Like the green eyes actually catch on fire. And he's like, I give my dying breath. Wait. And he steps forward and he touches your hand, Helene. And his hand is like hard and gnarled. He's like, would you let me look? Would you let me see what you saw?
Oh, yeah, if you think it'll help, if you want to see, yeah, go ahead.
You, Helene, feel like he looks at you and it's like he's looking through you. And you very much feel like a pressure on your mind. Like it's almost like when you've gotten too far in your cups out with Aiden. You're just sort of hazy for a moment. And he goes, oh, your mates. Oh, that's terrible. And he sort of like literally like stumbles back from you for a second and you kind of.
Yeah. So will you help us?
Yeah. uh, you know, I might know some people who'd be interested in this information. I'd be willing to make an introduction for you. They're just up ahead at the Sunken Siren. Karrin and Kerrin.
That's where we were going to go. That's
Is.
where I was going to take you.
It was. One of the goblins speaks up and is like,
I don't know if that's where the exile is. Sometimes she drinks there. I don't know.
and he goes, oh, the exile. That's smart too, really. That's smart too.
If possible, we can probably figure out a way to... Is it possible to set up a meeting time with you and all of your friends?
This ain't no place that operates on meeting times. I can take you to the Sunken Siren now, if you like. The exile will be there, or she won't, really.
Fair enough.
What do you think? I guess that settles it. Guess we're headed to the Sunken Siren.
They say, all right, stay close. Don't make eye contact with nobody, all right? Oh, and if anybody touches you, burn them to the ground. He looks at you, Helene, when he smiles like that. You see the flames sort of like leap into his eyes again. Yeah. He's like, I can say you guys are all young, but you're fighters. This ain't a place for pleasantries. It's a place for respect, but it ain't a place for niceness.
You understand what we just went through. You understand we're not in any kind of mood for pleasantness.
Aye. And he turns and he sort of like starts like waddling ahead, off the like walking very determined. Again, like all dwarves, he is built like a brick, but this is probably beefier even than the ones you're accustomed to. He's maybe 5 foot, but he's probably 320. It's like he's just made out of concrete. He's like, walking along. Yeah. And as he makes his way out, he is correct. You, again, especially now that you're walking the streets, especially because it's not so long ago that you were just on the streets of the City of Splendors. This is not that. There are shelves and stands and merchants set up, but where above was tapestries and fineries and baked goods, here you see slaves. One shop has sad, malnourished looking kobolds chained against a wall, and the kobold who's with you just sort of kind of averts his eyes as he's walking past. Another place has bizarre meat cooking that you don't know what it is, but some of it clearly has fingers as it's roasting on the spit. There are arms shops that have armor and weapons there that is all city guard uniforms. There's Neverwinter city garb. There's Waterdeep city garb. A lot of it is clearly like, stitched up with like it's like a sword strike to the chest has kind of been welded over, and a lot of repurposed and scavenged things. And there are several rows of white sails uniforms, burned, singed, and bloody.
I think Karrin and Kerrin sort of inch closer to Aiden as they see that.
Helene looks at those uniforms and looks down at her own and tries to figure out which one's dirtier.
You're dirtier. Yeah. A poor attempt at cleaning those has been done. You're definitely dirtier.
Yeah,
I think that there have been attempts by the twins to do a bit of mending on the uniforms as we've gone, but eventually they've probably just given up.
But in the midst of, once you get past that initial terror, you guys have been enough places. I mean, it's a city. There's, some people are kind of, you see in their homes, sort of making meals and preparing. You hear like the clattering of swords of people practicing. You even see the odd child running through the street. Not all of them look like malnourished vagabonds. Some of them are just kids.
Make a good living picking pockets.
Mm-hmm. In the midst of all of this, I mean, it's a city, and Aiden, in a strange way, once you get past that surface level of terror, something in you is actually a little more comfortable here, probably more than you'd even like to admit that it's.
This place could be a great home if it weren't for the slavers. Hate that.
Rock leads you along to the Sunken Siren, and he throws the door open and literally just yells, "Oi!" And you see everybody stops and kind of turns and looks at you. There's all manner of creature, human, dwarf, drow, with their jet black skin and white hair, Dwargard gnomes, and again, everything that you would expect to see on the surface as well. There are humans and standard elves. Some of them even look like they're dressed in the finery of Waterdeep. Not necessarily everyone here looks like a scoundrel, although most do. He's like, "I got some friends here that got a tale to tell that might be relevant to some of your interests." And he literally just like steps out of the way and motions. He's like, "Go on." He's like, "Curled lady. Regale them with the stories of what you have witnessed and of your power."
Yes. And Helene will indeed tell them basically everything that she had already told our new friends.
So you do recount the battle with the Illithids and everything?
Yes.
Are there any details you leave out? Otherwise, do you tell them everything to the best of your ability?
Do you tell them about Molt? Is the one I think that's most pertinent to my mind.
About Molt.
Yeah, cool. No, I'm parsing out Molt. I assume that you're not like, boom, we're here for Molt. No, I mean specifically the events on the shore, the Illithids, the loss of Xander and Rayonde, the mind-controlled humanoids. I mean that aspect of it. Just what happened on the river. Are you giving them that, Helene?
Yes, I'm giving them what happened on the river.
After a moment, they all sort of like sit in silence. And you hear, "Yes. Amazing how fate has brought us together once again." And you see over in the shadows, a man steps forward that you have seen before. Karrin and Kerrin in particular. So I'm right up close. He is a beautiful, dark-haired man, really, dressed in head to toe in leather armor that has been dipped in a royal blue. It cuts a striking form in this place. You all last saw him in the slave fighting pits of Neverwinter. His name is Nosir.
And he's the worst.
Or the best.
Or
he says in perfect Elven, "Good to see you again, twins. Our previous engagement was cut short by what was that? Oh, yes, some sort of uprising that cost me quite a bit of coin."
And in Elven back, they say, "We look forward to costing you quite a bit more."
Timber. Down here. I make the rules down here. I make the threats. And he switches back to common and is like, "You are Aiden, I believe was your name, and you, Helene, did fight quite bravely against my creature before."
what's it to you?
Yeah. Looking forward to doing it again sometime, I guess. Not too
Please.
soon. Not too soon. I mean, good decade in between or so.
Have a seat. And he motions at one of the tables. And when he does, everyone that's at the table gets up and walks away. So that there's like, he's like, have a seat. Like,
I'll rike her over and sit down.
and he walks over and sits down as well. Do you all sit down?
I think Kerrin and Karrin take the seat to either side of Aiden.
Helene kind of just stands behind them.
Mm-hmm. He's like, yes. So, it appears you all are in need of some assistance. Is that the proper deduction?
It appears we're seeking opportunities for collaboration with appropriate parties. I can't imagine the people we're after are good for business.
I cannot speak for all of the denizens of Skullport. I am, of course, a representative of the Paquette Martyr Syndicate, although Skullport belongs to the Xanathar. Long may he reign. And when he like, yeah, everybody, yeah,
Long may
Xanathar.
he reign.
Sort of like echoes and sort of bubbles to the room. Yeah. He's like, I do, however, have a vested interest in the continued operation of Skullport and not having my soldiers become mindless drones.
That seems like a potential point of collaboration that is in our mutual self-interest.
He turns and he looks at you, Helene, and he motions like this, and a spectral hand appears next to you and just gently strokes your hair and kind of picks up one of the threads with the coins. Like you see him do it and you feel it happen. He's like, you don't like me, young wizard. Why?
Helene also summons a spectral hand that slaps his hand away. And she goes, well, that, for one, look, no touch. We'll be friends. Well, I mean, the first time we met last time, you kind of, just, yeah, I did volunteer to go into the cage, but it was to make sure no one else had to. I kind of feel like my, no pun intended, my hand was a little forced in that decision. Kind of feel like you might have been trying to kill me. I'm not entirely certain. Not that I don't like you. I just don't know how to feel.
I have no particular interest in any of your deaths. It is why you are currently still alive. I was willing to let you die for business. Right now, my business seems aided by your continued survival. I won't lie to you to say the time may not come that it might be benefited by your death.
Aiden is gripping Kerrin's hand so hard.
Right back at you, my dude. real hard. I think that Karrin next to, on Aiden's other side, just very low under their breath, utters a string of curses in undercommon reminiscent of our friend, the Durgar. It's a bit essentially, the Klingon equivalent of calling someone a patak. So
yeah, I'm like, and war erupts. Yeah, you all do notice Rock is still sort of standing nearby, and he actually turns paler, which you think may be Dwargar blushing at this stream of expletives. Like, he's like, well, what would you like me to do?
We are looking for a couple illithid in particular for the purposes of exfiltrating our friends that Helene told you about. Sure could be assisted. Would certainly go better, and likewise, I imagine clearing out some of these illithid with the ambitions would help keep the supply lines clear. I mean, we got just on our way into Skullport. That can't be good for anyone who does business on both down here and topside.
It is not.
So, a few extra ready hands from us, which minimizes risk to you, I suppose. And then whatever you can kick in. We help each other. That hand, Kerrin, it grips so hard, it grips so hard, it grips so hard, it grips so hard.
Excuse me, Mr. No-Seer. We were on our way to introduce our associates to the Exile. Have you, by chance, seen her about?
And No-Seer's like, the Exile. Brilliant move, I must say. Well played, tiny friends. And you see, like, the three of them very much bristle, like, oh, yeah, no, man, you know? And he's like, I might be able to locate them. When you see, he just sort of, like, puts his hand on his head for a moment, and he's like, yes, allow me to buy you all a drink. Would you like anything to eat? I promise it won't be anyone you knew.
I'm going to pass on that. But I'll stay here and talk with you. I'm quite full.
We're good here too.
I'll take a drink.
A moment later, a half-orc with a pronounced heavy step walks over and puts down a stein as big as your head, Aiden, which under different circumstances would be like, woohoo, this is the best day. But inside there is like a thick green liquid. And it looks at you for a second and it goes, it ain't poison. And it picks it up and takes a big drink and puts it back down and says, but it might still kill a skinny boy like you. And turns and like kind of stomps away.
Kind of drink you have to make a Constitution saving throw about? All right, then I will make a Constitution saving throw about it as we continue.
Mm-hmm. A moment later, the door opens and you see someone come in that looks very different than the illithids you saw out there. It is a mind flayer, clearly. It is also purple. It's got its tentacles go down to about mid-chest, but it is wearing all leather, not leather armor, like leather pants, like a trench coat, like a hat. It is actually a very fashionable, and it is carrying like a golden scepter of some sort. And it walks in, and immediately behind it, so does Molt. She walks in and like looks around and looks right at you all and sort of freezes. And No-Seer is like, and she sort of like looks at the crossbow that's kind of over her shoulder and looks back at you guys again and just sort of stands by the door.
I think Karrin almost instinctually starts to reach for their mace and then stops. And then just sort of looks at Aiden.
Aiden looks down to their sword as a counterpart to Molt's crossbow bolt, and then intentionally relaxes their body, his body language. Your man spreads a bit more. It's very much the not here for it right now, but also my weapon is right here if you feel like you need to be, but I'm not here for it right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is other business.
that right now you're a nice place. It'd be a real shame if something were to happen to it. You know?
You know, your words, not mine, but they are such good words.
What does Helene do when you see these two come in?
She also just kind of makes eyes back at them. I mean, same thing.
The Mind Flayer, you notice she walks in and she sort of like looks to both sides of the room, and you notice everyone kind of looks away. Everyone's sort of like, you know, these cruel, hardened beings of all stripes here, you know, all kind of like, mm. And it walks forward and it just looks at you, and you all hear in your mind, yes, how might I be of service?
We're looking for our friends, and we thought maybe you could help us get them back, or at least tell us the best way to try.
She sort of like looks at you, and when she steps a little closer, you can see again, it was dark along the river where you saw the one with the particularly long tentacles, but it was kind of like pale and pockmarked. Up close here, she, in a very alien way, is almost kind of beautiful. Her skin is like very smooth and glistening. She is intensely different from you. Even just being near her, it would be difficult to feel something more alien. But she's like, I'm sorry, dear. Did your friends make their way into a slaver's cage? I don't know that I would have any influence in such things. I myself am in a very different sort of business.
All we need is a way to get them out from somebody who knows the Illithid better than we do.
Hmm. Have you run into some, and all of you are hearing this in your mind, by the way. It's like, have you run into some trouble with my cousins over on a Illithid Way? I know they can be very shrewd negotiators. Their form of logic is quite different than yours.
I don't suppose any of the ones on Illithid Way are lavender, kinda long in the tentacle, bit of pockmarks. Or any of them undead, perhaps? Because those are the ones who took our friends.
She visibly tenses up, and she's like,
Yeah, not from the neighborhood, right?
would you be willing to allow me to have a small glimpse into your mind?
I'm not using it for anything, sure.
She sort of like looks at you for a moment, and you all see her eyes start to glow. This is a very different experience than what Helene experienced. Whereas Helene was almost like a gentle pressure, this is like having your pockets turned forcefully inside out when you're being arrested. When they're just like,
Keep holding Karen's hand.
yeah, it's just going all through everything. And you see, she steps back and she's like,
Seven to speak in this forsaken song, but those creatures are a menace. I am not like them. I am nothing.
and then back in your minds, sorry. I had lost control of myself there for a moment. I am no longer that person. And she like very like sort of like smooth her tentacles slightly and kind of like adjusts her coat. And she's like, the ones who have your friends may be reachable at some risk. I would tell you. And she sort of like clearly tenses up, and all of you for a moment get a glimpse of you all back on the boat that day that you met, kind of tangled up, the breeze gently blowing, the sun on your face, the infinite possibilities that lay ahead, the unbridled joy of all the grand adventures that lay ahead. And she's like, I do not understand these things. It is not our way. Uh, I may be able to help you see.
I think Karrin stands up at this point and sort of moves over to her and just very gently rests their hand on her hand and just kind of looks up into her face. And there is nothing wrong with not understanding, but we appreciate that despite that, you are willing to help us. It is good that you have found your own way, away from whatever horrors it is that you have experienced. And if there is a way that we can help you after all of this is over, it would give us great pleasure if you would ask.
She sort of looks down for a second, and in all of your minds, you all just get a sense of just intense isolation and deafening silence. Just everywhere, in every direction, off into infinity, nothing. She looks at you for a second, and her head slightly tilts, and she's like, again, in all of your minds, I have not experienced much in the way of kindness. It was not our way before. It is not the way of this place now.
Well, if what you need is a friend, even just the offer to help has made one for you today.
She looks at you just like very.
My name is Karrin. It's nice to meet you.
She sort of like looks at the three of you. In Helene, her eyes glow for a second. And the three of you see a cottage, like a farmhouse. It's 2 stories, very warm. Aiden, you've been to Helene's village. You know it's where she lives. Helene is home.
Am I seeing this in my mind?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where I live.
What is this place to you here in the midst of this destruction and terror? Your heart continues to wander back there. Why?
It's where I'm from. It's my family and I'm most familiar with, and I miss them. I really only got a chance to say goodbye to one person, and kind of ran away. So it means the world to me.
A moment later, you all are Karrin, Kerrin, Aiden. You're all seeing this scene, and you do see Helene come walking out with her backpack on. Aiden, you remember that night well, but this was earlier in it, and she does look determined as she walks out, and she stops and she turns around, and a gray-haired, bearded man darkens the doorway. He's wearing a working man's outfit, his layered tunic over his leather clothes. And he stops and gives you a huge hug, Helene. And he opens his mouth to say something, but it doesn't quite come out. And you find yourself back in the bar, and she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to intrude on your personal memories. I just
No, it's fine. It's I like thinking about that one. Not the saying goodbye part, but the seeing him part. So I'll make it back there soon. It's a little awkward with the running away thing, but hopefully once we find our friends, I'll head back there and see them.
Have you ever been to the surface before?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She just nods. She's like, "I'm better off down here, I think."
You liked it up there, didn't you? Except for how people treated you.
The nighttime was quite pleasant. The, what is it you call it? Sun. It's a bit much for my complexion. She sort of, she stands up for a second, and she turns and looks at Nosier, and he just sort of nods, and he motions at Molt, and he does this, and she just sort of like nods and turns around and walks out.
What direction does she turn when she walks out? Aiden notes it.
Okay, you notice, yeah. She does sort of like walk out a little bit, and you see her wings unfurl, and she's...
Later.
And the exile turns back and looks at you all, and she's like, "I didn't tell them why you were here originally. I only told them the common cause that you have now."
We
I will.
appreciate that.
Consider it a gift of friendship. I will give you the answers that you seek, but I must prepare all of you. You will not enjoy them.
Do you have a name other than the exile?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Maybe someday. She does sort of inhale and sort of like stand up again, and she's like goes over and she's like, "With your permission, I will show you something. If it becomes too dangerous, I will have to disconnect us. Do you understand?"
Yeah.
She goes and she sits down as well. And she extends a hand to Aiden and a hand to Helene, and actually tentacles move forward out towards Karrin and Kerrin.
The twins reach out their hands.
I apologize for what you are about to see. And you all feel a tug, like you're being pulled somewhere far away, far beyond anything that you can imagine. You feel yourself moving deep through the caves of the Underdark, and you hear off in the distance moaning and wailing, and something in you finds it pleasing. It's like music. It is beings being put to use, beings finding their place. And you start to feel yourself, you're not just you, you're each other. Karrin is Kerrin, is Helene, is Aiden, is the exile, is in this room and the next and the next and the next. You're everywhere at once. You feel yourself, you're in 100 rooms, you're in 1,000. You look out and you see screaming, crying faces, and you do not care. You see tall, twisted towers made to a logic that you cannot begin to comprehend, and yet something in you admires their perfection. You see shining black edifices reaching up into dark spaces, and you see a particular room with a particular cave with a particular person in it, a red dragonborn. You see Rayonde. Rayonde, you find yourself in a cage.
What can I see around me?
You hear wailing off in the distance, the crack of whips, wheels of some sort grinding, and the room is dark. As far as you can tell, you are alone in it. The floor that you're lying on is completely bare, and the bars of the cage are made out of some strange stone that you don't recognize.
Where is Xander?
You don't see him.
Do I have any sense of how long it has been since I was last aware?
You're very hungry. You're very hungry.
No. So,
You,
hours then. I am always
Like-
hungry.
at least 22 minutes. Yes. No, you feel like you haven't eaten in some time.
Am I supposed to escape? Or I
You
don't know their plan.
feel a voice in your mind speaking perfect Draconic. Welcome. You are awake. Good.
Who are you?
I am your master.
Yeah, I have never had a master.
You do now. You see At the doorway, a form appears. It is thin, almost impossibly thin, with long, curling tentacles. It's the same one you saw on the shore of the river, the same one that was driven away by the ferocity of you all's attack against it. And it is still clearly injured. There are still cuts, burns. They seem wet, like some sort of paste has been applied to it. If you had to guess, some sort of healing salve. But it does lean heavily on its stick as it looks at you.
I had not encountered one of your kind before, but now at least I know that you can be hurt, and that means that you can be killed.
You have done us a service. The knowledge of the anguish you helped me experience has given me a new understanding.
I'm available for a lesson right now if you're interested.
He stops and he sort of looks, and Karrin, Kerrin, Aiden, and Helene, you get the distinct impression that it turns and it looks right at you. But it looks back at Rayonde. It's like, I believe we had an accord. I believe you came willingly.
I did agree to come with you, and I have already fulfilled my part of the bargain. From here on out, the only relationship we have is that of enemies.
I believe I told you I am your master. And you hear 1,000 voices, maybe many thousands of voices, all say in unison, in Helene, Karrin, Kerrin, and Aiden, despite yourself, you even feel yourself almost sort of mouth the words, "We are your master."
Well, what would you have me do then, Master?
That wasn't so difficult, was it? And it motions with a tentacle, and you see some of the bars of the cage just like move forward and slide to the side. I am allowing you out. Don't do anything foolish.
I walk forward and leave the cage.
It sort of like turns its head for a second, and you see at one of the walls, it just becomes transparent for a second, and you can see Xander. He's chained to a wall and unconscious. Anger me and he suffers.
I understand.
It motions and the wall turns solid. And it turns and it's like, come. I would show you something. And you all again get the distinct impression that he looks right at you when he says it, but Rayonde, to you, he just turns and starts to walk away.
I follow.
As you come out, you realize you are in a bizarre shell-like hut basically. And as you turn and look to your left and right, they go as far as you can see in either direction. There are, again, tall, twisted spires that emerge every once in a while and go off into the distance. You see no sun, no light, no fire, but there is sort of an ambient, sickly bluish green glow that seems to come from nowhere in particular. And as you walk along, you see all over the place broken people. Some of them are broken physically, laying on the ground and struggling to move and get up, but they can't. Some of them just look at you with that same blank nothingness in their expressions. And down here, you see all types. There's an ogre, there's bugbears. Off in the distance, maybe you've even spotted like a small dragon of some sort. It's difficult to say. People, but no other dragonborn.
So, are we waiting for something? Are you going to tell me your great plan of how you intend to destroy the universe or whatever it is that your kind does?
You hear Xander start screaming. And he's like, "Excuse me." Good. And the screaming stops. You, Rayonde, have walked a complicated path. And when he says this, Rayonde, you see back dozens of times, maybe hundreds, that you were run out of villages, barred entry, people threw rocks at you. You were forced to sleep down in the hold on the uncomfortable crates and in corners. And what little kindness you were met with most times was because people just wanted to use you as a weapon. These scenes play out in just rapid succession in your mind. Why do you care so much about a world that never cared about you?
Well, there are people in that world who are special and who are worth enduring the rest of it for.
It turns and looks at you and says, "And yet your love landed you here. It binds you now." And it steps right up to you. It's like, "I've seen your power. You could wring the life out of me now. And you won't because of your friend. Your mercy is weakness." And it turns around and starts walking again. All of you on the surface, so divided, so chaotic, so lost in your options and free will. Here we have order. Here we have unity. And it walks up to a thick black pool and says, "Here we have unity. gaze upon it, and motions with its hand.
I approach the pool and look down into it.
You all feel a tremor that goes through you. Those of you watching it, you feel like a tentacle is sliding around inside of your head. You feel like something is grabbing at your very heart, trying to pull and drag and claw you closer to it. Rayonde, you see the waters start to part a little bit, and something starts to rise out of it. A huge, disembodied brain. It is, when it rises, the black water starts to glow a sickly pink. And it speaks to you in a voice that you didn't even know you remembered, Rayonde. It speaks to you in the voice of your own mother. Oh, my lost boy. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all of it. And one of the tentacles begins to come your direction and slightly caresses the side of your face. And the Illithid that brought you here absolutely bows down. Like it drops to its hands and knees and doesn't look at it. You must have so many questions, my boy. But you're home now. You're where you belong.
I am where I belong, but it's not home. I'm not even here in this place. I'm sitting on the edge of a cliff, and I'm looking down at the beach. And my friends are there, and they're waiting, but they won't come and find me because they know that my morning meditation is very important. But I'm not meditating. I'm watching them. I'm watching their jokes and remembering the old jokes that they told, and I'm supposed to be focusing on my studies, but I'm just watching them.
That is so beautiful. I actually believe that you love your friends and I love you. I would like to reunite you with them.
You don't need to. They're with me now. I can feel their presence.
Can you? Rayonde, you get the clearest vision of all of them sitting in a tavern. You see Helene, Karrin, Kerrin, Aiden, sitting there holding hands with another mind flayer, which seems strange, with all manner of beings around them. If I wished, I could have all of their lives right now. Is that what you would like, Rayonde? Would you like it if that one juggled? And you see at the side of the room, an orc just stands up and starts juggling the plates, cups, the first thing he could reach. Or would you like it if that one were to open his wrists? And you see one of the Sverfnabelin gnomes just takes his dagger out and starts running it up his arm.
No, stop.
Mm-hmm.
If your power is so absolute, why do you need me? What is it that you want me to do for you that you can't do for yourself?
That is an excellent question. One I think it's time for you to know the answer to. And that's actually a good place for us to stop. So, thank you all for tuning in. It's fine. It's fine. It's just an elder brain. But thank you all for tuning in. And oh, that's weird. Yeah, that's very subtle. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week. And, it's going to be fine.